Hello and welcome to Roadmap 2019, the forum where we talk to the major players in Nigeria's journey to the elections of 2019. I am Ladi Akeredoluwale. Thanks for joining us. My guest today is a human rights activist and social crusader, but he is also a foremost politician representing a constituency in the north-central state of Kaduna. He believes that the ruling All Progressives Congress, to which he belongs, is making many of the mistakes its predecessor in power, the PDP, made, which led to its ouster in 2015. He also insists that the war against corruption, as is being currently fought by the government in power, is selective, and that Nigeria's democracy, as represented by the National Assembly, is under attack. Now, please join us as we talk to the senator representing Kaduna Central in the Senate, Shehu Sani. Distinguished Senator Shehu Sani, thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us on Roadmap 2019.
Thank you for having me.
Now, congresses have held across the country, and especially for your party, the APC. And across the country, in various places, there's been controversy. In some places, there was violence even. For example, in a place like River State, courts were invaded because of people trying to stop, people trying to get judgments and all of that. In Imo State, there was the altercation between the governor and a particular segment of the APC, and there are examples like that in various other states. What was your experience in Kaduna State, especially given what had transpired in the run-up to those congresses?
Thank you again for having me. Well, what I can say about the APC congresses is that it is reflective of the realities, the chaos, the troubles, the headache and the heartache of the party itself. The congresses was supposed to showcase internal democracy. It was also supposed to showcase that the party has come of age and it was determined to set an example and to inspire others to follow. But what we have seen was that the congresses turned out to be the summation of its trouble. In some states, there was virtually no congresses held. All they did was to gather people and said they should simply return. In some states, some people hijacked the Congress materials, and in some states, it was outright violence. The APC supposed to demonstrate that it is a good and better alternative, and that it's supposed to demonstrate to Nigerians that it can control its members and carry everyone along. But the reality has been that the APC as a party has failed to organize congresses that will have inspired others. And in my own state, there was virtually no congress. All that they did was simply to pretend that there was one, and at the end of the day, write lists in a hotel and submit it to the headquarters as the list of delegates. Now, the problem we have with this is that the constitution of the party was not respected on the issue of the congresses. And even what surprised me was the very fact that the national secretariat of the party has not in any way put a check mechanisms that will ensure that all parties, especially in troubled states, are simply carried along. And I can tell you what actually happened, that most of the members of the committees that were sent to states to conduct congresses were nominees of the state governors to go to the states and do their bidding. So we had no Congress or congresses All we had was that the governor and his aides wrote a list of delegates from the ward level and submitted. And it was even shocking to find out that even the so-called appeal committee simply conformed, endorsed, and simply gave credence to what was done at the ward level. But what we have not learned was the very fact that if you have faulty congresses, illegitimate congresses that ushered in party executives whose status is questioned, then whatever comes out of it, and that was why the president himself insisted that there should be no tenure elongation, people should go and contest. So they went round what he said now to ensure that there is a semblance of Congress which there was none, to pretend that there was Congress, there was none. And then we now have the chaos that we are living with now. But I think if the party refuses to address the grievances and the issues that were raised, there will be trouble at the end.
Senator, what you've just described is the reason why there were those in the run-up to the decision as to whether there should be congresses or not, had sought for tenure extension. And they had argued, those who said so had argued that at that point at which the decision was to be made, the APC had crisis in various places. The handwriting was on the wall that there was crisis, and that if congresses took place, what you have described as happened in Kaduna now would probably be the result in many other places as well. And that's what has now happened. But there were others who said, no, we have to do congresses because the constitution of the party and the constitution of the country does not allow for tenure extension. Do you believe that probably the party shot itself in the foot by going for these congresses now as opposed to waiting until after the elections?
Well, if you can go a bit backwards, you will see that the party was divided. You have at one hand the forces for tenure extension and then the forces against tenure extension. Now the president sided with the forces against tenure extension, and he did that based on the very fact that any form of extension of the tenure of people in offices of the party against the dictates of the constitution of the party will be challenged legally in the future. But what happened was that to many governors, and some of them, they were for tenure extension.
Yes, they were initially.
They were for tenure extension. Now, what was said, what they did was to say, okay, if the president is against tenure extension, now let us use the congresses to sabotage the whole processes. So what they did was simply to start removing the names of party executives whose loyalty were in doubt, and to fill it up with those who are ready to do their bidding. And then at the end of the day is what we have on the ground. Like in Kaduna State now, any party executive that is loyal to Senator Shehu Sani or Senator Suleiman Hunkwi, or that is critical of the governor of the state, his name or her name was removed and then replaced, and there was never any congresses. But what he did was to simply invite the camera to go and stand somewhere with some few people and say he was attending a party congress in a certain primary school. But for the residents of Kaduna and the whole of Kaduna State knew that there was no party congresses. So the party congresses across the country was manipulated and undermined, subverted and sabotaged by those who now went round and said, we will ensure that what the president said or demanded will be done, but will be done according to our own dictate. And this is the basis for the crisis. Now, you ask me, could it have been a better alternative if we had tenure extension? Well, it could not have been, because the constitution of the party didn't say we should extend their tenure. And secondly, why should a party that came into power on the promise that it will correct things and do things rightly be unable to even organize itself and organize a congress and give its members a sense of belonging and justice? And what even surprised me, if you could remember, some few months ago, the house of Senator Suleiman Hunkuyi was demolished.
Yeah, which was serving as the party
The
secretariat.
party secretariat. And then Shehu Sani from Ekiti State was sent as a peacemaker to Kaduna. And he came to us and we told him how impossible it was to have peace in that state with a governor who is full of himself. Now what he told us that he was determined to do justice to all sides. Now the same Shehu Sani, some few days ago I read on the pages of the newspaper, was complaining of victimization by the party when he went to contest the primaries in Ekiti State. So you can also see the issues even raised by Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu about the congresses, who is supposed to be an umpire and a peacemaker for all of us. So if people that are highly placed, ranking members of the party, can at this very time raise issues about them being victimized and unjustly treated, then where lies the hope of the party? It's very clear to us that the party has failed in its ability to restore peace to itself, to end its civil war, end its Cold War, and end the chaos and the autopilot which it has found itself. So all we have seen in the Congress is the summation of the crisis within the party. The party used to tell us we shouldn't be washing our dirty linen in the public, but with the congresses, we not only washed our dirty linen in the public, but we also spread it for sunlight. That was what happened.